If it's not a good time, it's going to be a good story later. And if it's a good time and a good story, even better. We actually had a leadership conference at UVU when I was in high school. And while I was here, I thought, wow, this is like really cool school. Of course, loved that everything was indoors. Didn't really think about it again for the rest of my high school. And then when I was applying to colleges, I actually got into a certain unnamed school down the street. And I also got into UVU, of course, because UVU is open enrollment. And UVU offered me a scholarship, a full-ride scholarship, where the other school didn't. They also had me be part of the honors program, which I had applied for and I wanted to get into it so badly, and they accepted me. I honestly was like, okay, I'll come here for a year, test it out, and if I don't like it, then I'll transfer to the other school and just figure it out. And it really was like a week in that I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here for my entire education. When I was at UVU for that first week, I had a couple of professors who introduced themselves to me personally, like by name. And when I'd message them on Canvas, they like remembered me. And a part of that, right, is because UVU has such small classes. And so it's a lot easier for the professors to have one-on-one connections. But just the fact that the faculty was of their own accord so personally invested in the students was huge for me. My proudest moment at UVU was serving as President Tibbitts' presidential intern. It was a very competitive position. So when I applied, I went into it full force, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get it. And I remember the moment that I was told I'd gotten it. I was out in the UVU courtyard and I got the call that I had made it, and I lost my mind. I helped write talks with Tibbitts, right? And I helped draft white papers, and I helped put together Vision 2030. And I was, as a student, just as involved as some of the VPs and President Tibbitts herself. I was very proud of that and proud that I was able to be involved. The most influential person at UVU for me is Dr. Paul Parkin. He is the pinnacle of what a faculty that cares about its students looks like. He puts his whole entire soul into teaching, and he genuinely changes lives like every class he teaches. I personally now run a podcast and a leadership and organizational development business. And it's focused on perfectionism and why perfectionism is harmful. And he's the one who taught me that. He's the one who taught me for the first time about that concept in his class. And because of that, it changed literally the trajectory of my life and my career. My podcast, I do it with my business partner, Alicia Turner, who is also a presidential intern here. She was an intern for Kyle Reyes. She and I have done this podcast for a few years now, and it's been very cool to see how needed the conversation around perfectionism is. It's something we don't talk about a lot, and it's something that really grows in the dark. We started this podcast when we both were students still, and as of today, it is in the top 5% of podcasts in the world. And so it's done really well, which we're really happy about, but also just pays tribute to the fact that people need to hear about it and need to talk about it. My advice for students, just get involved. Like, just do everything. UVU is so set up for you to be successful, and not just be successful, but have fun. There's just so much for you to take advantage of, and I know it's easy when you're a college student to get caught up in everything, right? I worked 40 hours a week and was a full-time student, so like I get that it's busy, but I don't regret any time that I spent being involved at UVU, whether it's in student leadership or with the clubs or with sports or intramurals or whatever it is, just get involved. And one of my life mottos is, it's either a good time or a good story, and if you're lucky, it's both. College throws a lot of curveballs at you, right? There's a lot of stress. You know, if you're living the classic broke college student life, there's a lot going on and a lot happening, and you have a lot of balls to juggle, but that always helped me through it, where it's like, okay, if it's not a good time, it's gonna be a good story later.